I'm going to complete the session on devotion. I wanted to share something about Tibetan Buddhism, their devotion, which is pretty strong. But because I didn't stay in that tradition for very long, I will not comment on it. So I will just continue with the early Buddhist or Theravadin tradition. Bhikkhu Buddhadasa is a very well-known teacher from the Theravada tradition, and he was also quite well versed in, I think, Christianity. He said all religions are the same. They don't teach us to be something, but they teach us to be selfless. So selflessness is the true teaching of all religions. And if we fight each other to point our fingers to say my religion is better than yours, that is very selfish. That's not selfless. All right, so he actually gave a series of talks at Swan where his retreat center is, and is still I think it's quite popular today. I think they have a 10 days retreat. It's quite strict. I think it's now run by a nun, if I'm not wrong, a Meiji, who was his disciple. That was a few years back. That's what I know. So he said that Buddhists actually have much to learn from Christian teachings about the practice of love, loving kindness, or metta. And that metta requires more than sitting on the cushion, wishing other beings well. Well, it's true because devotion is a very close companion of compassion, as we shall see in the next slide for Christian devotion. And how do they bring it out into the world? Well, their devotion is, for the Christian tradition is a lot more developed, a lot more emphasized than the Buddhist, at least in the early Buddhist tradition that I'm most familiar with. There is a focused history of social service than do the disorganized Buddhist traditions of Asia. So yeah, that's what he said. So I'm going to bring up two well-known Christian nuns. So nuns in the Catholic faith, I realize, are like the women in Buddhist faith, in the Vajrayana and the Theravada faith. Women are not recognized. Women are only recognized in the Mahayana tradition. So you see in the Mahayana tradition, there are women teachers, female teachers. So there is a bit of imbalance, right? So we know that men and women have different perception, different views, and perhaps they may speak differently about the Dhamma, using different words, as I've mentioned. Certain words work for certain people better, but unfortunately, majority of the teachers in the early Buddhist and including the Vajrayana tradition are mostly men. So even in the Catholic Church, women are not fully ordained. That's what I realized. I didn't know that. But fortunately, they are recognized by the Catholic Church as doctors of the church, like Saint Teresa Avila here. So I was actually introduced to Saint Teresa of Avila by Ayah Kema when I was listening to her talks. So for Ayah Kema, who was a German Theravadin nun, and Tanzim Palmo, who was a British Tibetan Vajrayana nun, both of whom I follow, they didn't just follow the Buddha's teachings. I mean, they did follow the Buddha's teachings, and then they felt encouraged to find out more about their own Western tradition, the so-called mystical tradition in the West. Why do we call it mystical? Mystical because, when you talk about meditation and its experiences, it's very hard for ordinary people to understand. But in actual fact, anyone can meditate and anyone can experience these things, because that's what we all are. We all have this pure mind, this pure nature of mind, which we have forgotten through our distractions by material things. by our chasing after sense pleasures, right? So anyway, yeah, let me not continue to nag here. I'll just read what Saint Teresa of Avila has to say. She said, "The surest way to determine whether one possesses the love of God is to see whether he or she loves his or her neighbor. These two loves are never separated. Rest assured, the more you progress in love of neighbor, the more your love of God will increase." So actually it's true, right? So it's very similar to the Buddhist tradition. For one who has certain enlightenment, they will not judge, nor will they discriminate, be prejudiced, right, between one or the other. So in this case, she's saying there is no difference between God and your neighbor. If you can love God, you can love your neighbor, because that love is the same, right? And she said, if you can love your neighbor, you'll naturally love God again. So you see, there's this relative truth, this duality thing that she's going on, which is like the Buddhist teaching, right? About relative and ultimate truth. So actually love is the ultimate. There is no opposite. Well, I'm talking about unconditional love. I'm not talking about our daily usual attached kind of love. Yeah. So unconditional love, as the name suggests, is an absolute truth. So love is love. If you can love God, you can love your neighbor. You can love your neighbor, you can love God. And that is the mark of an enlightened person. There is no discrimination of whether a person is of a higher learning, a person is of a lower learning, whether a person is enlightened or not enlightened, because to an enlightened person's mind, they are all the same. Everyone is born of so-called God in the Christian faith, or in the Buddhist saying, everyone is born from space. Yeah, it's like fire. Fire is everywhere. You just don't need conditions to bring it up. Just as spirits are everywhere, you just need conditions for it to manifest into a material form. There's only mind, which is spirit, and matter, which is, you know what matter is, M-A-T-T-E-R, material stuff, in the universe. That's all. There are just these two things. So it matches with Einstein's findings of E equal mc square, energy equal matter, right, square times the speed of light squared. Okay, so what he's trying to say is matter is actually energy. Energy is actually matter. Matter manifests from energy based on the speed of light. Actually, matter is light and energy is light. That's actually Einstein's equation, which is recognized. And that's what spirituality is all about. You are not a material thing. Therefore, if you were to discriminate and judge and compare, then you are actually, so even if you say you're Buddhist, you're actually a believer of materialism. Okay, that's it. Right? Okay, so let's move on. Another favorite saint of mine is Saint Clare of Assisi. She said, "We are to become vessels of God's compassionate love for others. Love that does not know of suffering is not worthy of the name. We become what we love, and who we love shapes what we become." So it's very profound, you see. We are to become the instruments of God's compassionate love for others, right? So this reminds me again of the St. Francis prayer. Lord, may I be the instrument of your peace and your love. See, so this is what she means. We are to become vessels, which is instrument, right, of love, compassion, compassionate love, because love and compassion are the same with different quality, a slightly different quality, but they're all part of unconditional love. Then she said, love that does not know of suffering is not worthy of the name. So here she's actually talking about compassion. So many of us do not know how to be compassionate to ourselves, mainly because we are unable to be honest with ourselves. We're unable to be honest about our suffering that cause us to act unskillfully. So acting unskillfully, we think it's bad, and then we refuse to recognize that, oh, I'm such a bad person, then you go and cry over it, rather than having compassion for yourself, for the suffering that you have caused yourself. Truly, no one is a bigger enemy than ourselves. We are the creators of our own suffering as well as our own happiness. But yet, we always blame people for how we feel. Like somebody to criticize us, we would blame that person and think that, well, it's not true, I'm not like that, and then we'll go on and on. But actually, why should we be upset if it's not true? Because it's true, so we defend ourselves, isn't it? And that applies to myself too, right? And that only points out to me I have not fully let go. There's still that pride for me, and I'm very aware of it. Okay, so it's true. Therefore, love that does not know suffering is not worthy of the name. Love that knows suffering is able to apply compassion for yourself. And because you truly understand, you're honest with your heart, yourself, that you're an awful person because of your suffering, you can be so honest about that. Then you're able to apply compassion for yourself and see that other people are also suffering. Then you stop that measuring and comparison and being judgmental, right? Because then we realize we are all creatures of suffering. Like the Buddha said, we're all friends on the path of aging, illness, and death. We're all the same. So we become what we love. It's true. And who we love shapes what we become. You see, she's also again playing with the dualistic thing, right? We become what we love. It's true. If I am obsessed with chasing after love from my spouse or from my partner, then I become that desperation that wants attention from that love that I'm chasing. You understand? But if my love is for Dharma, for the unconditioned, for the ultimate truth, then my love, then I'm shaped by that love that I want to know, which is ultimate truth. How am I shaped by my wanting to know ultimate truth, or what you call God? I'm shaped by it by becoming unconditional love, right? So it's actually as simple as that. Okay, so you see, actually all religions are the same. I resonate a lot with Christianity, thanks to Tenzin Palmo, thanks to Ayakema, and also Ajahn Amaro from Amaravati. He also talked about the Christian tradition because they're all Western monastics, and so they do read about their traditions, and thanks to them I learned about Christianity and basically Catholicism, not so much of Protestantism. I find the monastic tradition of the Catholics are very closely aligned to the Buddhists. So let's come back to our Buddha, our wonderful Buddha, who is also, by the way, recognized as a saint in the Catholic Church. One day I went to a Catholic shop, and they have all these pictures and booklets of each saint that has realized the truth, and I was so surprised to find the Buddha there as well. Alright, so the Buddha is a wonderful and fully enlightened teacher. I'm very sure of that. Okay, he's really my moral model. I may admire teachers or the ajahns and ayahs, but in my deepest of my heart, I know we are all Buddha nature, and my love is for that deep Buddha energy within all of us. So the Buddha, the awakened one, who was historically known as Siddhartha Gautama, he actually talked about the 10 recollections. So I'm jumping the gun a bit. Am I jumping the gun? No, I'm not. Okay, so I'm jumping the gun because, right, in traditional classes, we're taught that the Noble Eightfold Path, the last 3 aspects, which is right effort, mindfulness, and samadhi, we are taught that those 3 aspects are meditation. Okay, but to be honest, the entire Eightfold Path is meditation. Okay, and So I think it's quite worthwhile to talk about this now. What are the 10 recollections? So 10 recollections, right, are used to for taming our unruly scattered mind. Unruly scattered mind, untrained mind. What is the untrained mind? Untrained mind is a very busy mind. It's very task-based. It likes to measure good and bad, gain or loss. It likes to judge, right? It likes to find things to do. It cannot stand silence for sure. It doesn't know what to do with itself. That's an untrained, unruly, scattered mind. So in order to train our mind, we have to. So again, this word mind, M-I-N-D, right? On one hand, it means spirit. On another hand, it also points to the human mentation, the human mind. Okay, right? So before we can learn to understand this force behind nature, this E, right? E equal mc squared. This E energy, and realize that it is not a dead thing. That is very much alive, and is what makes us out to be. Is what so-called creates us, manifests as matter. In order to know this energy, we have to train the mind so that the mind is pliant. Pliant means what? It is meek, it is soft, it is able to listen, to be obedient. We need to train the mind so that it becomes a good friend to us rather than that inner critic, or that one that criticizes, that one that feels you're not good enough. This is all the ego mind, which is really an illusion. When I say it's an illusion, it means that it's the human mind that doesn't last. It dies when you die. Okay, so how do we tame and train this mind? The Buddha gave us 10 recollections. First, the first 3, we can recollect the Buddha. So in the Thai forest tradition, there's that recitation of Buddha. Yeah, so again, you don't chant mechanically. Like in my last session, I was saying devotion is not to chant mechanically. Devotion is to remember what the Buddha, the qualities of the Buddha mean. Qualities of the Buddha is vast space, because that is energy. Vast means open heart. It means compassion and love. Only an open heart can truly be compassionate. An untrained mind that says it's compassionate, that kind of compassion is very momentary, and it's also very conditioned. Okay, it is not entirely open, but it's better than nothing, obviously, right? That's what we are on this training for. So when we have an in breath, we take Bud, out breath we say Do. So Bud, Do. So in the past, I chanted mechanically, so definitely it got me nowhere. Later on, my devotion for the Buddha grew, and now every time I chant Buddha, my heart is lifted. I can just sit down and chant Buddha, and I can be lifted into very deep happiness. That is the power of devotion, real devotion. Okay, right? Because like I said, shared in the last session, I'm so touched by the Buddha, his sincerity, his willingness to die to know the truth. Such a rare person to find these days, right? Very few in the monastic life, and perhaps in the lay life too, we don't know, because nobody talks about such things, right? Next, the Dhamma. So the Dhamma will be the teachings. I recollect the teachings of the Buddha, which I used to do very often. Like certain experience comes, like suffering, and I will investigate, is that first noble truth? Which part of first noble truth is that? And is second noble truth involved? How do I let that go? Right? So I recollect the Dhamma. Dhamma also is impermanence. When I see things coming, I see things going, that's the Dhamma. Yeah. And then the Sangha, number 3. So you can see the Sangha would be the the saints lah, saints, the Buddhist saints, saints, what we call the arahant, the bodhisattva, like arahant bodhisattvas, they are the sangha. Okay, bodhisattva would be Bodhisattva Maitreya, maybe Guan Yin. Yeah, so you see, actually there is a correlation with the Christians. The Buddha would be Jesus. They think about Jesus. The Dharma would be when they pray, when they think about the Lord's Prayer, like our Father in heaven, holy be your name, your kingdom come, your will be done. Your will be done means what? Not my will, not my small little egoic will be done. If I don't get my little ego's desire fulfilled, it's fine. Because what does God want? Okay, what does the universe want? Right? That would be the Dharma. Number 3, Sangha. So for the Christians, they recollect their sins. So I know Saint Teresa Avila, she recollects Saint Joseph, who was the father of Jesus. So you see there's similarity there. Number 4, recollect your virtues. So all the good that you have done. You don't need to announce this to people. You don't need to show it to people. You don't need to take photos and send to your friends on WhatsApp. Right, occasionally you do it to share goodness on social media, it's fine occasionally, but if you do it like almost every time, then you really got to look inside your heart lah. Why are you doing that? Why are you always showing off? Maybe, I don't know, you got to check your own intention. Because to be honest, the virtues that I collected or I created or I've made for myself in the Buddhist tradition will most likely not resonate with many people out there, right? Even within my friends, if I were to, or Buddhist friends, if I were to keep texting them, oh, these virtues I've accumulated, or wishing good, what exactly is that? Is that spiritual pride? It's something to look into, right? Otherwise, okay, the good that you've done, you remember them, you think about it, and it makes you happy. Okay, like if you have donated money to someone and you know that person is doing well now, you think about it, it makes you happy. So you see, you think about the Buddha, you're happy. You think about the Dharma, oh, it's impermanent, so this suffering won't last, yay, that's great, right? You think about Buddha, such great love and compassion, right? So it softens your heart. You think about the Sangha, oh, the sacrifice they made, like the Buddha, to seek the truth, so inspirational. Then virtue, you think of the good things, your virtue that you have cultivated through the years. Like last time you used to be very impatient, now you're a lot more patient. You think of that, and the work you have done, the work you have put into it, right? Bring a smile to your face. And then generosity, like I shared, virtue and generosity, they're very related. Like you give to someone and it has improved that person's life, again it brings a smile to your face. You see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what do they help you do? They lift up your heart, make you very happy when you think about it. Yeah, okay, it's not something you need to proclaim every day to a friend. Okay, you think about it, it's just happy in your own heart, in your own room, in your own way. Yeah. And then number 6, you recollect devas. So devas would be, I think, those heavenly devas. I'm not sure who they would be. To me, Jesus is the Bodhisattva. So this is a bit hard. Reckon deva. I mean, to me, there are high spiritual beings for sure, who are also on the path. And sometimes, for my case, I don't necessarily know the name of who that is, but I call out for the higher beings who are compassionate, and who are sincere in helping practitioners myself reach the truth by balancing love and wisdom. Sometimes I call. in my meditation or my prayer, and then you can feel again when you call your body, your heart also feels lifted up. I'm not kidding, you can give it a try. Right? And then next, mindfulness of in-out breathing. So again, when your mind is not scattered, it doesn't run around like a headless chicken, okay, doesn't run around to find tasks to complete or to complete tasks. So it's on the in-out breathing, is in the present moment. And in this present moment, this in-out breathing, it actually feels very nice. Because I shared, I think last session or 2 sessions back, that thinking itself is actually stress. It's actually stressful. So when you tame your mind to be in the present, you actually feel very joyful, because that is the nature of our mind. The nature of our mind is without thoughts, and it's very joyful. Next, number 8, mindfulness of death. Okay, so for me, this practice is very, very powerful. It is not recommended for many people. So I have a great fear. So I think most of us, safe to say, has fear of death. And I have this fear for very long. I don't know why. It could be a past life thing. I don't know why. So for me, to get past this fear of death is to do mindfulness of death, to just sit through it and allow myself to die. So how is this done? For me personally, I visualize the different ways I could die, and no matter how scary it is, I sit through it, and I think of the 5 aggregates. Right? First, the body is burned. Second, the feelings painful. I don't like that painful feeling of being burned. And then third would be feeling the thoughts, okay, the thoughts in suffering, and then slowly they depart. Okay, perception and thoughts, feelings, they depart as to the body, because they are all connected to the body. That's what I realized when I did death meditation, and allow them to get absorbed back into space. And that's that great fear, right? Because space to you, to us, normal person, is nothing. So it becomes like we're so afraid of being annihilated, because truth is, a lot of us have a belief of materialism, that once the body is gone, we're nothing. Okay, even Buddhists like me, who practice for the truth, I have that subtle belief, and I challenge that by doing this meditation. And by seeing these 5 aggregates die, I realized that it's not the end. And that is the relief I got out from mindfulness of death. So I think it's a great meditation. Again, right, number 1 to number 8, you see, is about relief, is about joy. Okay. Number 9, mindfulness immersed in the body. So again, because the body can only be in the present moment, it cannot go anywhere, unlike your mind, which can think all sorts of nonsense from past to future. When your mind is here with the body awareness, aware of the body, most of us are not aware of the body. Most of us are only aware of our thinking. We're not aware of the internal organs. We're not aware of the air moving through the body or not moving through the body. We're not aware of the blood moving through our body or not moving through our body. We're not aware. But when you are aware, you'll find it very pleasant to abide in the body, because the body is only can be in the present moment. Last but not least, stillness, samadhi, right? So samadhi is an open state of stillness. So it's very hard to explain. It has to do with jhanas. Yeah, jhanas will go through it, but you see, jhanas are related to all number 1 to number 10. There's that stillness, that silence, the ability to rest in that open silence. Even when your surrounding is busy and noisy, it feels nice, right? So 1 to 10 helps to train the mind to be calm, open the heart to be loving and joyful, right? So that's all for this sharing. Thank you.